We're going to start, first of all, with Karen Smith from Australia. Karen is a member of the Women's Action Alliance, Canberra, a women's liberation group committed to the protection and advancement of women and girls on the understanding that sex is a biological fact with material consequences for females living under patriarchy. The title of Karen's talk is Going Guerrilla, Practivism and Getting It Done.
My name's Karen Smith. I'm a representative of the Women's Action Alliance, Canberra. Our motto there, as you can see, is Getting It Done. I'm going to give you a bit of an update on some of our activities. Women's Action Alliance Canberra comes out to WAC, W-A-A-C, so we call them WAC-activities. Canberra, of course, is the capital of Australia. We're the Australian Capital Territory, ACT. So in terms of our WAC activities, I'll give you some updates on a couple of protests that we've been doing, some activism tips for the new ones, and some guerrilla activism that we've noticed around town. Not stuff that we've necessarily been involved in, or we haven't been involved in ourselves, but just stuff that we're seeing other women doing. So I'm going to start with our ABC protest. ABC is the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. It's the equivalent of the BBC and other government-sponsored media. And we conducted what we called our ABC Tavistock and Media Watch protest. And this was a protest about the ABC's non-reporting of Tavistock. We conducted it late last year in middle of last year in August. And Media Watch is it's a program that kind of holds our media to account. And they ran a segment on how the ABC didn't report Tavistock. And the ABC is, if possible, even more captured than the BBC. The BBC, of course, is walking back, being captured, but the ABC is still going full on. So we decided to have a bit of a protest off the back of the Media Watch segment on the ABC's non-reporting of Tavistock. Helpfully, the ABC in Canberra, where we're based, is at an intersection on a main drag, on a main road. We set up there on a Saturday morning from about 11 a.m. This is us just starting to get ready. We mostly protested on public land. You can see the intersection here, so we were able to capture a fair bit of traffic. We were mostly on public land. We had occasional incursions into onto ABC property. Here we are on ABC property. I don't think they would have come out and moved us on. We weren't there for long. But we took a variety of signs. As you can see, we spent almost 2 hours there. We, as the traffic was going past, people were reading the placards from their cars. We got lots of honks of support, lots of thumbs up. So that's how we measure support. We got abuse from only 3 or 4 cars, I'd suggest, all with young people telling us to fuck off. We had some passers-by, they stopped to talk. But this isn't really a main thoroughfare at the ABC. Our main idea was just to take our placards and get some visibility. Some sisters in our group aren't comfortable with going public, so they wear face masks, hats, sunglasses, coats, things like that. At one point, an ABC employee actually came and spoke to us, which is rather unusual because they don't tend to talk to women about what's going on in this area. So they took some photos, they gathered intel on us, we gave them handouts. Here's our ABC employee there, nicely ringed out. We did mention to the ABC employee the ABC's editorial policies 2 and 4, which deal with reporting facts and being impartial. And the ABC employee said, I report the facts and I'm impartial, as are my colleagues. That's the only comment I'll give. So that was a little bit weird, but anyway, she had her say. This is us just finishing up at the very front of the ABC. So good photo ops, that's one of the main things that we do these wactions for, is for photo ops. We can tweet them and put them on our blog. This is us finishing up, but this is us at the end with our little Lego sisters. Sorry, I'm from South Australia where we say Lego, which is a genuine linguistic inflection instead of Lego. So these are our little Lego sisters. And some of our sisters, like I say, who aren't that comfortable with getting their face out there, just feel more comfortable having their Lego mini-me's represent them. So that was our ABC Tavistock protest. We gained a fair amount of support for that. Our next protest that I'll talk about is from the ACT Magistrates Court. There we go. That's the posse with our signs. We set up there in September on a public holiday last year. Again, we weren't aiming for foot traffic. We were really aiming just to get photos and to do some awareness raising via Twitter and our blog. Because we went on a public holiday, so this is kind of a good tip as well. Because we went on a public holiday, it also meant that we didn't have to advise the sheriff that we were outside. Because you can only protest in certain places around courts, and you certainly can't protest outside the family court or the children's court. So yes, we can see that we made our own placards there, which is quite a relaxing activity, good mindfulness activity, if you like. Some of us had been watching Rumpole the night before, so we had some Rumpole themed the scales of justice favour men kind of themes there. We plead for women, acquit your duty, protect women. So the purpose of this protest was we were questioning the court's reasoning on a decision, because the court released on bail a 27-year-old male who was charged with 72 offences related to child sexual assault. He's a trans-identified male. He is alleged to have sexually abused his two younger sisters, who were between 5 and 12 years old at the time, over a period of 7 years. He pleaded not guilty to all charges, and those charges included incest, assault, choking, sexual assault, acts of indecency. We came across it because he was reportedly granted bail in a hearing in the ACT, that's the Australian Capital Territory, in the ACT Children's Court, he was granted bail due to concerns that he'd be remanded in the male section of the local correctional centre. So the concerns were that the male would be remanded in the male section of the correctional centre in the ACT. I've got written here, presiding magistrate Jane Campbell determined that detaining the defendant in the male section of the correctional centre would be unsuitable given he identifies as a woman. And she stated this: to my grand astonishment, I am told she, the male, to my grand astonishment, I am told she would be held in the male section of the AMC, that's the Alexander McConaughey Centre, the correctional centre, that she would be held in the male section of the AMC, and that would clearly not be in the interests of a person who identifies as a woman. So, well, we were grandly fucking astonished too, because this, we felt, could have been a dire forewarning or a precedent of the position that the court might take in future in relation to any male that says that he's a woman. And that is that such men should not be housed in a men's facility. Okay, great. But we were grandly astonished to think that this could possibly lead to a man's being housed with women if found guilty. So that's what we were protesting. Oh, there's some of our placards, lovely Rumpole-inspired placards. Don't lower the bar for men. Caution, judge, women object. All right, so here's some protest photos. We have a men's auxiliary. Throughout history, there have been women's auxiliaries, right? So WAC has a men's auxiliary, the WACMA. They were invited. They're only ever invited if they're going to be useful. So that means taking photos, holding placards, sticking their legs under placards. If any sister in our group doesn't want a man there, then he's removed. No questions, no argument, no judgment. All our after events are for sisters only. So we went for lunch after that. But here, again, it was just a bit of a photo op. out front of the courts. Again, this is all good Twitter fodder, we felt. We read out some telegrams, i.e. texts that we'd received, texts or telegrams of support from Kit Kowalski, Janet Fraser, Isla McGregor, all big names in the gender critical space in Australia. Single-sex prisons WA, we gave some speeches. Here's a sister reading out a speech on behalf of Jess Williams, the founder of Single-Sex Prisons WA and indeed Single-Sex Prisons Australia. So there we are, doing our thing out front of the Magistrates Court. We got a lot of likes and some good publicity through that waction. Another waction we did was our Get Gender Out of Schools banner drop. This is us. We organised this one fairly quickly. We just needed to scratch an itch, really. We're all getting a little bit over it. So we decided to set up over, on a walkway over a busy road on a Friday afternoon to capture peak hour traffic. Yes, here's a picture of a fence, it looks like, but actually this is just to demonstrate the importance of recceing the site. So we found a site that was pretty hard to get to by car. We had to recce it because we somehow had to get banners dropped around these kinds of structures. We did a practice run on the banner drop just for safety. You don't want to, this is on our recce too. We just happened to see a sign there about the Australian National University, which is also tremendously captured, that someone had done a number on the roadside sign. So the things you see when you're out and about, getting ready for a banner drop. So yeah, we of course, when we do a banner drop and we do our practice, we don't want to drop banners over traffic. We aimed for a quick and clean setup and knockdown. We only had 2 main banners and our themes were children and schools. At the end of the action, nothing was left behind, but it also gave us a nice effect, we think, a nice effective kind of visual. Hopefully this video will play. But you can see it on our Twitter feed. It's up the top as a pinned tweet. So that's at Get Gender Out of Schools. Here's another one of the banners that we put up. No child is born in the wrong body. So really simple, direct, clear messaging. We've also got some of our WAC banners up there. So we need to keep everything safe and legal because our name is out there as well. Just another view. We had, again, a good amount of traffic go past. Put this one up here because we thought on the footbridge we might capture a bit of foot traffic, and we put up these, some of our placards just behind the No Child is Born in the Wrong Body banner. The problem, of course, is when you see it from the other side is that all the placards, the silhouette of the placards is visible through the banner. So that was a bit of a mistake there. I mean, people still could read the banners because we know that because we keep a tally of reactions. And here we had 51 positive reactions and only 7 negative reactions. So we see that as a straw poll of Canberra's feelings about gender in schools. So always a good idea. That runs out at about 13.5 or 7% or something. We also did a banner drop for International Women's Day this year. Again, we aimed to capture morning traffic. And again, we just stuck with a really simple theme, women and sport. And the same with the Get Gender Out of Schools banner drop, 2 simple messages that people can put together so that the messages together make sense. Yeah, you don't want to confuse people with abstruse slogans, stuff that we might understand, but they might not quite grab a hold of. So we're choosing something that people can understand and connect with instantly. We were quite surprised at how many people actually seem to understand this message, woman is not an identity. Maybe that was also because there's some of the traffic, but maybe that's also because we put up another banner, which was no balls in women's sport. And as you can see on the bottom of the banner there, we have some tennis balls. So putting those two messages together, a lot of people seem to understand what the message was. Again, we took a straw poll of reactions. There was a pretty, of the negative reactions, there was a pretty even split. Here we go. So we had 81 positive reactions and 11 negative by our count. So positive, again, a thumbs up and honks and waves. Negative reactions are the fingers and the, abuse. And for the negative reactions, what was interesting about this one, with the Get Gender Out of Schools, the negative reactions all seem to be from people who understood the gender issue on the trans side. With the International Women's Day negative reactions, there seemed to be a bit of an even split between the anti-woman trans activists and your good old-fashioned garden variety misogynistic tradie in a fluoro and a ute. So it's a tradesperson in a fluoro vest in a car with a tray in it. So that was interesting. All of the abusers took time to roll down their windows, scream at us, flip the bird. But what we found particularly interesting about this was exactly the same percentage of positive versus negative reactions, 13.5, 13.7, whatever percent. So, yeah, we figured this really could be what Canberra thinks about genderism. We've got some details at the end of our website and how to find it. We've got a blog post up there on how to do such a banner drop, choosing a location, finding something that's safe and suitable, doing a recce, how to get your messaging clear, making an effective banner, what materials to use or avoid, briefings, debriefings, practice drops, risk management, staying observant and safe, that sort of thing. So there are just a few of our WACtions, but we've also noticed a few other things around Canberra that we haven't been doing, but it's been good to see. WAC operates only as a group. So the Women's Action Alliance Canberra, we operate only as a group. As such, we do not condone the breaking of any laws in any jurisdiction. This is very important to us because we aim to be seen as a serious, sensible organisation with good standing that uses fact and evidence, reason, rationality, courtesy, compassion. These are all watchwords for us. These are things that we use to make our case. So we avoid anything that's illegal. But we do know that there are other women active around Canberra and surrounds because Canberra's kind of stuck in the middle of New South Wales. So there are other regions around Canberra where sisters, live and observe. So for those women who are conducting such such actions, and we'd advise that they need to know what their individual laws are in their jurisdictions. In particular, they need to know their vandalism and littering laws. So, for example, in the ACT, there's a difference between the ACT and New South Wales. In the ACT, you absolutely cannot chalk or sticker. You cannot put any temporary structures. You can only put temporary structures up that can be removed. Again, you cannot chalk in the ACT. Because that attracts an $11,100 fine and or 6 months imprisonment. Compare that to New South Wales, where chalking, for example, you can leave items that can be removed by soap and water, and that will only attract a $400 fine. So again, chalking is absolutely not okay. In the ACT, cargo pants might be useful if sisters wanted to do that kind of thing, but again, not wax sisters, absolutely not. Other things that you can't do, for example, in the ACT, are to leave leaflets under windscreen wipers. That's the case in most jurisdictions in Australia. You can't leave loosies in, for example, I don't know, notebooks at stationery shops or inside free event magazines or kids' book catalogues or inside pamphlets at doctors' surgeries, You can't do that. That's all littering. Can't do it at things like secondhand book fairs. You can't pop them in secondhand books. Can't leave menus, Lucy's in coffee club menus or anything like that. But based on some of the items we've seen around town in Canberra, we assume that it might be easier than some imagine to do that. Then again, we also wonder if, if we're seeing it and people might notice that people are actually doing it, but not say anything when they see them do it at the time. We're just not sure how that might work. We also, again, being a little careful at WAC, we also wonder if someone notices and says, you shouldn't be doing that, what might be a good approach, which might be, oh, okay, I'll stop doing it then, and then really quietly stop doing it and just move on. So that sort of thing, we guess, would apply to stickering. Again, we've decided not to do that sort of thing because it's illegal in the ACT. But based on observations, we've noticed that some stickers get taken down fairly quickly, others can last weeks. Some, if they're placed in toilets or places where there's anti-graffiti paint, they can probably get taken down pretty quickly by cleaners or whomever. But yes, some things might just leave a different kind of surface. If one sticker got taken off, it might leave a different kind of surface for something else to happen on. Also in WAC, we don't encourage sisters to put things on sliding doors because they can be, pretty dangerous and quick to slide on top of you. Other people's posters also is probably something you want to be careful about, or other groups that might be have things on their website that are quite anti-woman. You might want to also, in WAC, we wouldn't want to prevent other people from speaking. Absolutely not. Sometimes there might be a case for joint messaging. We also figure it's probably easier to place items in places where you are meant to be standing still already. So that might mean, I don't know, men's loos, perhaps parking machines. We've seen them on parking machines. Probably other places where you're meant to be standing still could be places like post boxes or phone kiosks. You might see people standing still at hand sanitizer stations. Obviously, if people are hanging around with shopping baskets or in the shops. Maybe gender clinics or cosmetics clinics. There might also be mobile marketing you can see around town as well. As a thought experiment in WAC, one of the reasons we've decided not to do this sort of thing is because we just assume that everyone's being watched on CCTV. We've also got a place that we've seen a few sisters, well, not our sisters, but a few of our non-WAC sisters have been placing things in particularly captured areas around town. We've also, it's a bit of a shame that WAC doesn't do anything like this, because you'd think that Canberra would be a pretty good spot for, getting some stickers or things out there, but it's just not worth our while to do that on government property. Or even with, big business, just not worth our while. Or to walk into lobbies and do it in fours and things like that. Oh yes, regional Australia is not immune either, just get that out there. These are some of the resources available on our website. Again, I'll pop a slide up directly. So these are the sorts of things that we provide for sisters' personal use and for no other reasons there. Also some handouts and things like that. If I can, I would like to take this opportunity to, as we finish up, just to launch globally the affiliation of Australian Women's Action Alliances. We encourage sisters to form groups. WAC is a model. Our model is to be seen as a serious group with good standing. We write submissions, we write letters, have meetings with politicians. We now have 3 Women's Action Alliances. So I'm pleased to announce tonight that we have affiliated to become the affiliation of Australian Women's Action Alliances. That's AWA. We have the Women's Action Alliance Canberra, the Women's Action Alliance Tasmania, and the Queensland Women's Action Alliance. If any sisters in Australia are interested in our model, please get in touch. We're the Women's Action Alliance Canberra. We are a member of AWA, the affiliation of Australian Women's Action Alliances. Our motto is let's get it done. Thank you.